Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2008 BMW M3. Up front is a 4.0 liter V8, and down below is a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this E92 M3 for one main reason. I haven't driven one in quite a while, and I dearly miss the sound of that 4-liter V8. This also does have an exhaust done to it, so I think it might be a pretty good day. But if you would like to share your vehicle with me and have a video like this made of your car, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 4-liter V8 under the hood. Well, that is the crown jewel and the talking point when it comes to this generation of BMW M3. Never before this time had the M3 had a V8, and they haven't had one since. It's a very special few years that the E90 chassis lasted that it actually got the aluminum 4-liter, and it is glorious. Just take a listen. If your seat is completely dry, then you might not have a soul. It makes around 400 horsepower, and it is a delicious, amazing engine. However, it is not without fault. Of course, if you know anything about this era of BMW M3s and M5s, you know something about rod bearings. These engines had rod bearing issues. The reason why is debated among the BMW community, but the end-all be-all is the fact that they don't get enough oil, and so they prematurely wear, break down, and that pretty much throws the engine because there's such high tolerances that there's no real room for error when it comes to the engine of the M3. Do rod bearings fail every day of the week all the time? Not really. It's actually not every single one of them is going to have issues, and the rule of thumb apparently is that if you make it past 30,000 miles without it happening, then you're probably okay, but who's to really say? A lot of people do them prematurely just so it's not a headache down the road, and that's exactly what was done to this engine. It had all that work done before it catastrophically failed, so the owner didn't have to worry about it. Like I said, paired to it is a 7-speed dual clutch, which I actually really like in terms of an automatic transmission. I think it shifts really well, shifts very fast, and it actually is very aggressive when it downshifts, and that's what I love. Now, you could also find this in a 6-speed manual if you would like that, but unfortunately this is not the case. Last but not least, of course, the M3 is rear-wheel drive. So how does it feel to actually drive the BMW M3? Well, it feels very BMW. All the touch points are very BMW. Obviously, this has an aftermarket Alcantara steering wheel, so I can't really comment on that. But everything in here feels, it drives very BMW, but then it starts making a noise. A noise that I'm not super familiar with when it comes to the 3 Series. Normally, this sound is reserved for the bigger 5 Series, 6 Series, 7 Series, and yet it's barking and biting out of this little guy. It's such a phenomenal driving experience. It's no wonder why this goes down as one of the best M3s. You get a lot of road feel. There's a lot of bucking and biting when it comes to that quick transmission, that gnarly 4-liter, and it really feels like BMW saw that Mercedes was on their tail and just threw caution to the wind and said, "F you, we're making something cool." And that's what this really feels like. This feels like a no-holds-barred experience of the M3. It feels unleashed. That's always good to feel out of your sports car. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! And that was barely getting into it. That was barely getting into it, ladies and gentlemen. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two gauges. Off to the left is my speedometer and fuel, and off to the right is my tachometer and oil temperature. I also do get a little readout, very common in the 2000s. They're starting to experiment with readouts in the gauges, so it just gives me my gear, odometer, things like that. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my voice commands, phone option, and volume. And off to the right, I have my CD and recirculating, which I love the recirculating button on the steering wheel, as well as my skip track buttons. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent, as well as my headlight switches. And moving on to the door, I have my power mirrors and power windows. This is the first generation of M3 to move the power windows to the door, as opposed to in the center, like a lot of other German vehicles. Moving into the center, I do have two climate control vents, as well as my hazard switch, central locking, and actually my tire pressure monitor reset. Kind of an interesting location. Then we do have our BMW professional radio. Not sure what the leisure radio would look like, but this is the professional one. Off to the right of that radio, by the passenger airbag, I do have cup holders. They come out of the dash, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test. These break all the time, so I'm not even gonna try this with the big friggin' bottle. It fails. And then we have our climate controls, dual zone, which is really, really nice to see. Of course, max and auto and things like that. So all the necessities that you want. Then we do have our ashtray and cigarette lighter and the shifter. The shifter is a little dainty, I guess, but it most certainly does the job, and I'm not complaining. Then we do have the power button and traction control off, and then we have our selector for the sensitivity and aggression of the automatic transmission. So it looks like a volume knob or volume slider, but it's actually telling the transmission how hard do you want to go? How hard in the paint do you want it? You can select that here. Then we have this somewhat sad excuse of a cup holder. Then we have a center console and the seats. The seats have pretty high bolsters. They're very sporty and they hug you in. Me being a bigger guy, these are sort of edging on being a little bit uncomfortable for me because they are so narrow, but I'm actually not having an uncomfortable experience. It's just getting towards that point. I think maybe after lunch, I might start to get uncomfortable in these seats. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, even though it's coupe, so let's go do a back seat review. So we're in the back of the E92 M3. I do have an ashtray, thank God. Two climate control vents back here, some little storage space, and I do seemingly get a center console. With the seat crushing any human that would try to get into the driver's seat, I actually fit back here pretty well, but if we move it back, it's not horrible, but it's not amazing. It's still a coupe back seat. I prefer sedans. If I were to buy my own M3, I would buy a sedan for the actual practicality. That's just me. Who am I? I don't know. Let's go hop around the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the M3, just pop it up, and you do get a decent amount of cargo space. Nothing really crazy in terms of this era. I still think it's pretty good for a coupe. So nothing really to write home about, and we can come down here. And we do get a fix-a-flat, but seemingly no spare tire. And we don't get the signature toolkit that BMWs used to come with, unfortunately. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and obviously this has had a couple other things added to it, like a lip, wheels, things like that. It's been lowered. But I love the overall look of the E90 chassis, whether that be the E91, E90, E92, E93, whatever it might be. I love the look of it. I think it's a rather timeless design. I think it's held up really well and still looks relatively modern, even though it came out 14 years ago. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving, yet again, it's been several years, but yet again driving the BMW M3 from the E90 era? Well, it's one of the best, if not the best. It's hard to compete with this. I love that V8 so flippin' much. And it really feels like BMW proved a point and walked away with their hands in their pockets. It really feels like it was a one and done car. They kind of mastered it and then said, all right, we're good. Let's go back to inline sixes. And that's where they've stayed ever since. Oh, the noise is mean. It barks, it bites, it might tear my head off if I give it the opportunity, and I'll try my best to not, but who knows? The biggest thing, the best thing about this car, like I said, with that noise driving feel, is its ability to make me smile. About 24 hours from the filming of this video, I am going to the hospital to have a procedure done. It's nothing major, but I have to go under anesthetic. And I'm very scared about that. I'm very worried. I'm nervous about it. And so today I still have to work. I still have to perform. I still have to do my job. But then that makes me happy. That makes life okay. Some days, like today, life sucks. It really, really does. But when driving a car like this, it makes life seem okay. Maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe I don't need to be so nervous. Or maybe I just need a 4-liter V8. Oh, yeah, I think it's the latter. I think I need a V8. Hachi machi. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Matthew, as well as his brother Max, for facilitating this review, for letting me take out this M3 and just making my day better. I can't thank them enough. They've been absolutely awesome to work with, filming a couple of their cars, but it's gonna be hard to beat this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.